and welcome to this week's episode of Tired and Thriving, a podcast recognizing just how tired and exhausted we all are while discussing ways to still thrive. I'm your host, Samantha Gray, and this week's guest is Kati Prescott. Kati is a background supervisor and illustrator. She's worked on shows like BoJack Horseman, Muppet Babies, Praise Petey, and Belma. Thank you for sharing time with me, Kati.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Good.
You're not leaving.
You're in this. You better like it.
The door is locked. Don't even think about it.
Arthur's guarding it right now. He won't let you go.
It's like him and his kibble. It's just like, can't get through that.
Before we started recording, Arthur's been like, well, now he's done with it. But he was rolling around his little mouse kibble toy to get food, and it was very adorable.
I have a feeling we might have a comeback. We'll see.
He's like, stop talking about me. Well, I would like to start off with my favorite question. What started your path into art and animation?
Ooh, a lot of it has to do with my upbringing and where I grew up. First, I am... where to begin? I have actually like a lot of artists in my family.
Oh.
Yeah, like my grandfather on my dad's side was a really talented artist. Sadly, he passed before I ever got a chance to meet him. But then on my mom's side, like my great grandfather was like a wood relief sculptor, and like he did a lot of like furniture, but like decorated, and like everyone in my family has like a wood relief portrait that he made.
What?
Yeah, like a lot of Ella Fitzgerald's. He loved Ella Fitzgerald. But yeah, so he was like an artisan from Mexico, and then moved to California. And then I have from my grandma's generation, like I have few artists there, specifically 2 aunts, and then in my mom's generation, my one of my uncles is a illustrator and graphic designer, and yeah, so like we already kind of like were open to that, and then growing up, I'm from LA, I'm from North Hollywood.
Whoa.
I'm one of those weird little unicorns. and a lot of that was my mom and my dad were both actors, and they met like in the it's now Cal State East Bay, but it used to be Cal State Hayward up in the Bay Area. And yeah, they met in the acting department and like the performing arts department. And then, you know, tried to make it in LA. Had some success, but not really. And then also my dad was a stand-up comic for a while there too. Yeah. But then my mom was like, okay, well, we gotta support this family, and we got 2 little girls. I'm gonna go like, you know, get my like paralegal license and whatnot. And she started working for Disney. And so my mom actually like just retired a few years ago from working at Disney for like 31 and a half years.
Oh my god.
Yes. And so I grew up like around TV animation, and like grew up just with the idea of like, you know, loving art, loving drawing, but then also like seeing that, oh my god, like look at all these like silly adults that are like making awesome things, and like you can just do that. You can just be a professional artist. I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And like, yeah, it's a weird thing to talk about because it kind of feels a little like Nepo baby-ish. Because I just grew up around it, but my mom is not an artist, and she was more like in the legal department, but like we got to go to like the Disney lot a bunch, and she like worked on the lot for a little bit, and then later I worked on the lot for a little bit. And so like it was kind of growing up with that as an idea. And then I've always loved drawing and doodling. And I think I also just love the idea of being an artist too.
Yeah.
And then that has its own journey with it. I'm just like, am I an artist? I don't know. I don't meet that expectation.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sister and I like both kind of just grew up around like what is it? Like when they were making a lot of like the really great shows in the 90s, like Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, and then later like a lot of like the One Saturday Morning cartoons, like Recess, and I don't know if like there's other shows that I don't know if everyone knows about. Like Lloyd in Space was another one they did. See, no one really knows about that
Nope.
one. Or Dave the Barbarian was another one. But yeah, we kind of like got to go to like they also made a lot of like the sequels to the bigger movies.
Okay.
Like a lot of like the Aladdin straight to video sequels, and then yeah, basically all the straight to video sequels. And then they made like Winnie the Pooh. They made a bunch, so it was really cool just to kind of be exposed to that.
Yeah.
And just see like, I mean, it doesn't really change that. Like what I love, it's so much of what I love about animation, because it's like, it's, yes, everyone's working in an office, but it's an office like covered in toys and like silly stuff, and just people that are like, yeah, they're serious artists, but they're also like big kids at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was always really cool.
Well then, okay, so did you go to college for art, or I think even you went to an art high school?
I went to a art middle school. My sister later went to more of an art high school. So we went to a middle school that had a performing arts magnet, where that like a lot of child stars went to that school, and then like I think a lot of the Haim sisters went there.
Oh wow.
And then they later went to Loxo, where my sister went. And at the time, I don't know, I've had like so many moments of like, should I do art? I don't know. I don't think I'm good enough. And I'll try like another path, and then I'm like, no, I meant to do art.
Yeah.
And part of like that other path was I went to North Hollywood High School and was in the zoo magnet program, because I really wanted to get into like, I really wanted to be like a veterinarian. Like that was my other passion. But and they have like a cool program where like you're working with animals, and you're like at this little remote off like this remote campus that's separate from the North Hollywood campus, and that way like you're really close to the zoo. And so that was another thing where like, but then I don't know, like halfway through that program I was like, you gotta be really passionate about this. I think I'm more passionate about art. But then and then after that I ended up going to SF State for focusing on fine art painting. I hope I don't get too much vocal fry. I feel like it's creeping in all of a sudden.
Oh no. Sure, it's fine.
I'm gonna sip my tea.
Well, it sounds luxurious.
I mean, it's still there. You can see that school campus for the high school. It's like
really?
right next to the Audrey Museum.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Well, okay, so you went to San Francisco for fine arts.
Yes.
Why did you go, like, so did you always know that you were going to go into animation, or were you just thinking, I'm just going to do art, and so you went into college for fine art, or what was that, thinking process like?
I think I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something creative, and I knew that animation could be an option, but I was intimidated by it because I think I only thought about either being a character designer or an animator. And I never really felt like I kind of clicked into gear for either of those roles. Mm-hmm. And I remember like I would go to like, I mean, there was like a couple things, like going there, we go for like a take your kid to school day thing, and they were like, let's show you how to draw Mickey. And I remember like every time I tried to draw Mickey, I was like, this looks terrible. No, I don't like it. But then I also like, but because it's Disney, because like they would have life drawing classes and gesture drawing classes, so those were like the first times like I ever got to take like serious drawing classes. And when I was like 16, of course, my mom would only for a while let me go to the nights where there would be like a female model. But then it was also cool to like go for the gesture drawing nights where you're just focusing on the fabrics and then story. But then I don't know, I kind of still felt like pretty intimidated because I'm like drawing with like real Disney artists, and I'm like, oh god, I'm not that good. Oh no. And I think I just thought, like, I really just want to build up my skills. I've always loved painting. I've always wanted to get better at that. I think I just never really like tried oil painting, and I thought I want to do that. And I also like, I mean, a lot of it was wanting to go to school in San Francisco because growing up down here, I never really liked it down here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to get out of here. And I need to kind of do my own thing, separate from like my mom and my sister. And I like was able to go to SF State, and then I really wanted to go for illustration, but they didn't have an illustration department, so I was like, all right, fine art it is. Let's do it. But it was also funny because like even like how I kind of kept more and more getting pulled back towards animation, I realized also like through those fine arts classes, because like the funny thing with fine art, and whenever you study it, they love to shit on illustrators. And like I remember like one of my teachers like showing a photo to the class of this like what looked like a book cover illustration, and they're just like breaking down, I guess, like what is the point of this, you know, like
what,
like it's kind of like, you know, like what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of this. And everyone's just kind of wanting to tear down the narrative. That's the thing I've noticed with anything like fine art related. They love to break down the narrative. They hate the narrative. And a lot of that, I think, just stems from art in the 70s. I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of that postmodernism is like focusing on just breaking down, like it makes me think of like what happened with like abstract painters in the 50s and 40s. A lot of that was in response to like bring out my art history training, like a lot of that was in response to like World War II, of just like, well, if like having these beautiful portraits and having these beautiful paintings of narrative, and again, listeners, I mean, I may be wrong on this. This is just from what I remembered. But like, you know, if this kind of brought us to something as horrible as this event, like we don't want this. Can we like push this? Can we go beyond this? Can we rebel against this and make something that's so different from that? And I feel like a lot of art from like the 70s up until the present day is kind of a part of that too. So it was great being in that program because it kind of forced me to kind of like think in a different way, but I also kind of kept feeling more pulled, I mean, back to more commercial art, more like illustration, more animation, because I would go to like fine art events and you know, you're trying to schmooze, you're trying to network, and I never felt comfortable.
Yeah.
It always just felt like everyone takes themselves so seriously. At least that was like the circles that I was in. And then I go to like animation events, or I'd visit my mom at work, and I was like, everyone is so silly and funny here. I really want to be in this environment more and more.
Yeah.
And so like little by little, and I mean, I did not go to school for animation. I didn't take any animation classes, but I just kind of always felt like I kind of had access to something like that, or like I knew that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
I knew that it was kind of like an option from there. And like, yeah, I guess I can go into like how I started in animation.
Yeah, we're gonna go into that next. I do love that, you know, that it's been a common thing, I feel, for all of us, where it's like you needed to try that different thing first of fine art, but then get the glimpses of animation to draw you back to it.
Totally.
Because I feel the same way, where I tried something else thinking I was going to do comics. And then once I got that glimpse into animation and the people that it was going to involve, I was like, it clicked into place. And I was like, oh, okay, this is it. But I probably wouldn't have gotten there. Or there's always that thought that like, once, if you already have it, you would have doubts, or, you know, you'd be like, well, what if I did try fine art, or what if I did do this other, you know, major or graphic design or something. So I think that's a pretty cool thing that happened, and you having that resource with your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of like seeing that it's possible. It's a thing. It's
Yeah.
a job.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that you don't have to be serious about it. You get to be silly and be
Yes.
like,
Yes.
ha 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 ha.
The rest of the podcast just giggles.
That's what I love about it. Just get the giggles out. It's cool to party with us.
We're fun.
We're silly and fun.
Why wouldn't you want to be here?
Okay, so now you've finally figured that out through college. So now how did you get in? Which is always the hardest part, I feel like.
Oh, totally. Well, I think besides growing up around it, I think little by little I was getting pulled, realizing more and more. I was like, I think I really would like to get into animation. And it started where I was very lucky and got an internship at Disney TV Animation in 2007. And I helped out in like a bunch of different departments. Like Phineas and Ferb was just starting to be made at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I got to kind of help out with casting a little bit, and then, just normal like internship kind of stuff, and then got to sit in on like meetings of like potential, like what projects do we want to pick up. And then later, like 2 years after that, I graduated in 2009. The best time to graduate and start a job or career. And like I moved back down to LA, and I just tried to figure it out. I was like, can I get an animation? And randomly, there was a show called Kick Buttowski, Suburban Daredevil, cannot talk. And they, the art director had experience in graphic design, so he really liked to work in Illustrator. Mm-hmm. So they were looking for painters to who knew Illustrator. And thankfully, even though I didn't really go to like a proper art high school and like took mostly like painting classes in at college, in high school I took a randomly we had like sort of like an illustration class at my high school. It was called digital imaging, and we learned how to work with like quill pens and ink, and like something called it was sort of like a technical pencil where it's like you kind of it's like this real fine point, and then we would do animal illustrations. But then the second semester we learned Photoshop and Illustrator.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
So that was like the most beneficial thing, I think, in my whole artist career to learn. I think that's like helped me get work from this point, that point on. And I mean, even like going to like college, I was like one of the few people who knew how to use Illustrator or Photoshop and Illustrator, because I'm in the fine arts department. A lot of people are like allergic to, or at least a lot of people are just like, I don't know computers, no. And I think it's like the Bay Area. I don't know. I don't want to give a bad name to it at all.
I also just think it was the time.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think if you did graphic design, you would learn those programs. Otherwise, I don't know if you would really work in them. Yeah. And so I randomly knew Illustrator. I tested for the show, and I got it. And it was like I started, I think, in like August of 2009. And we were like, this is when they still had animation on the lot. So we were like in the Frank G. Wells building. Wow. And like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It was kind of short-lived. So my career in animation has been a roller coaster ride. And I basically I took too long to work on my paintings, and they let me go. Oh. And and it was kind of wild, because like I was like, all right, well, what do I do? And it's like 2009. It was kind of as bad as it is right now. And so I just was like, I don't want to be in LA. I hate being here. I don't know how to get work. I'm moving back up to the Bay Area. And I went up there for like another 6 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and just kind of like started from the beginning again. Where like I think before I left, I was working at in retail at like a sports store, and then moved back out. I was like, all right, let's get that sports store job back. Then after that, I got a job doing photo retouching for a flight simulator company. And that was wild. That was like, oof. That was a job where it was, I think, 90% introverts and like severe introverts in that job. And so you can imagine I was the loudest person. But I was using Photoshop the whole time. And like, yeah, basically like I was there for like almost 3 years. And it was like literally just you're fixing topographical photos. And then like you were isolating bodies of water with like, you were like, all right, there's a river here, paint it, but like fill it with just one block color because then we can model with it. And like, I don't know, it was such a boring job. I think it was like, I hated that job so much. I think that was like maybe the worst job I ever had. But I did get to like, it was sort of a training to like spruce up my photo retouching skills, which sometimes I do have to use every once in a while, you know, when you get stuff back from the overseas studio. Yeah. And you got to fix it up. So that was its own weird training. And then little by little, I kind of made my way back into animation. Randomly from doing a comedy show that I still do to this day every once in a while called Picture This.
That's where you started?
Yep. Basically, I had little illustration gigs and I was working on my own stuff. And I even like took a trip up to Canada because I really didn't want to move back to LA. Yeah. Like I really resisted it because I've just had such a I've never really felt like I've quite fit in with LA. Yeah. And I remember like thinking maybe I'd get a job in Canada. And I was like, then you got the whole visa situation with it. And a lot of it is just like studios that do work for Disney and like other studios here, they're all up there. But my sister knew that I was like really trying more and more to kind of get back in. And she knew, of all people, Mike Hollingsworth, because she had also just started dating Mike Mayfield, who is now her husband. And they would always do the Picture This shows. And so I think it started where I did some work for Lady to Lady, which is a comedy podcast. And then one of the co-hosts of that podcast hosts Picture This.
Yeah, Brandy Posey.
Miss Brandy Posey. And I think I did like the poster for Picture This, but I wasn't on the bill for it. And they liked it so much that they like, in fact, they kept parts of my poster, and that's now the logo for Picture This.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
So yes, you're talking to the person who did the logo. What? Picture This
whole time.
Those are my silly little drawings on it.
Yeah.
And then, Mike Hollingsworth, I met him for the first time, and he was like, I heard that you're like trying to like work in animation, or that you're looking for background painting work. I'm like, yes, I am. And he's like, you know, we're looking for background painters. Let's talk more. And then I did like the Picture This show with him. And I think they were just they had just done season 1 of BoJack. Yeah. They were just starting. They were looking for people for season 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so this was 2015, or it was late 2014. And so I didn't know Flash at the time. And but thankfully I had a lot of game friends in the Bay Area, because I feel like that's most of, at least at the time, it was all tech and games. Yeah. So I tested, and like real fake it till you make it, like, oh god, I gotta learn this program now. And after many rounds of just like breaking down and crying in a corner, I figured it out and did the test, and They liked it. And I basically quit my job on the spot.
Oh,
But also, like, at the time, so my mom was visiting, because I also have a lot of family in the Bay Area, because my mom is originally from the Bay Area. And at the time, she had a bike accident where, like, she was trying out, like, the clip-in shoes.
Yeah.
And noticed, that feels kind of weird. And whatever, like, I think her brother, my uncle, was like, whatever, it's fine. Come on, let's go for a bike ride. And she broke her ankle. And she's fine. She's fine now. She recovered. But, like, she even suggested, like, you could always just come down and say that, like, you need to come take care of me. And that's kind of what I told my job. I was like, hey, I have to leave now. I have to go now. I'll let you guys know if I got to come back, but I got to go. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, and today's my last day. Okay, bye. But I did it all, like, I don't know. I like to say I was like, fuck you, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I was probably just more like, my mom, she's disabled now. She broke her leg. I gotta go take care of her. Like, oh my god.
Accident.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, let us know.
Oh my god.
Yeah. They reached out to me, I think, for like a year, thinking like, and after I was like, yeah, I'm not coming back. Sorry, guys. But yeah, and I like kind of just picked up and moved to, like, over the course of like a few weeks, like a month, I like moved to LA, moved back to LA. I mean, I was very lucky. I had the option of staying at my mom's house, and like it would have been a much different story if that wasn't the case. And I mean, I was also taking care of her because she was like kind of wheelchair bound. Yeah, and that's like what kind of restarted like my return to animation, my return to LA. And I've been here now 9 years ever since.
Oh my gosh. I find it crazy because I was there when Picture This like began.
At Titmouse?
Yeah. And like when it was handed off from Chris Pernowski to like Brandy and
Sam Varela.
Yeah. So it's crazy knowing that like that thing that I saw come to like fruition or like manifest was, well, I knew he was gonna do that. His claws are very sharp. I need to cut them.
It's alright, I got a good thick jumpsuit on.
Oh, good. He does that sometimes. I'm like, no.
For the listeners, Arthur just stretched his little body up against mine by kind of sinking his claws onto my side.
He does that. I'll probably edit this out, but maybe I won't. Maybe it's time for the listeners to know I have a little needy boy who needles his little claws into everybody when he wants attention. But then he like goes off and he's like, I'm done.
That's all.
That's it.
That's all I need.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty cool that ended up being what brought you back.
Mm-hmm.
And that opportunity. Oh my gosh. He's starting to play loudly with his toy. Arthur! We'll play later. He's really asking us to play with him right now. Do you mind if we pause?
I don't mind.
So we just took a little break to play with Arthur because he was really asking to play. But back to, so that was, love that you got in through Picture This, getting into BoJack of all shows, which now we know is so critically acclaimed.
Yes.
So, wow. All right. Let's see. Now since going into BoJack and having so many shows, being in the industry so consistently, in what ways has animation helped you thrive?
I mean, it's allowed me to be a working professional artist. Mm-hmm. It's also like, I mean, it's made me love LA a bit more because it's just like, oh my God, look at all these beautiful dorks. Like, everyone's so fun and silly. Like, it's just like, I think it's working at BoJack really formed my friend community down here. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, that's how you and I met. Like,
well, we met through mutual friends through BoJack.
That's true.
Because I didn't work on BoJack until season 4.
I think.
But everybody.
Which season had the underwater episode? Was that 3 or 4?
I want to say that was 3. Because I remember. That's how I found out about, or not how I found out about Aaron, but that's when I really admired Aaron, I guess. Because, you know, I had friends who, like, hung out with Aaron, and I was like, oh, he's cool, knowing he was a director. But that underwater episode was that really, like, brought his game into the main stage, I guess.
I forgot he directed that episode.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I hope he did. What if he didn't?
Oh, no.
I love that. We're like, let's fact check.
We're going to decide right now. He did.
Yeah.
Well, he directed a lot of episodes in the following seasons.
I looked up Aaron Long, and it says American soccer player.
Yep, that's him.
That's our Aaron. Oh my gosh. Aaron, are you 31 years old, born in 1992?
Are you suddenly American?
From Oak Hills, California? Oh my gosh.
That's his alter ego.
Yeah. Which is so funny. This guy doesn't look anything like our Aaron.
No, he does not.
But, okay. Man, he's so... Oh my gosh, here he comes with his little mouse.
I feel like this is... I don't know if... I feel like when I've listened to the podcast, like, I'll hear him meow, but I don't really hear him, like...
No, he's never been this active. This is only for Katie. He's really
You know what?
off.
He needs to entertain. You have a guest.
But he's never entertained. He's never been like, here's the full stops. Here I am playing and singing. Like,
I can try to give it less attention. Maybe he'll stop a little bit.
How can you not?
I'm just
give
encouraging
him. Though?
He's so cute.
It's so funny.
And then I got this toy.
Yeah.
And then I got this one.
Oh my gosh. What a silly child. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So, enough talking about Aaron and singing his praises. But that's really cool that you got to do the underwater episode and, you know, yeah.
Yeah, just like seeing them develop, like that we had to have like a moving background. And like how there'd be like moving plants in the background. It was crazy.
So, yeah, having that community and finding that group of friends. I mean, honestly, now that I've known you for so long, it's like so weird to think that you would be anywhere else other than LA.
I know. I've come around on it. Like LA is like, I think it's just kind of one of those places, well, I don't know. Like, I was in the valley most of the time. I didn't have a car most of the time. Like, honestly, I didn't have a car until, like 8 years ago. Because I just avoided it. And that makes a huge difference. And I think LA is just the kind of place where, like, there is a beauty to it. And there's really great people there. But it's not going to be obvious on the surface.
Yeah.
And that was something I like, found differently in the Bay Area, like in San Francisco, like where I just was like, oh hell yeah, I feel like I'm a part of something. This makes sense. This is great. Mm-hmm. And it was just an instant lock-in. Whereas being here, it's taken a few goes. I mean, it's taken me it's my 3rd time living down here for me to make it work. And yeah, there's like, it's a really beautiful, like there's a lot of really great people down here. You just have to find them. And then after that, then you realize, oh wow, LA's not that big. To follow, especially in animation and anyone like in the artist sphere. Like I feel like it's like, oh wow, I thought this was big. I was wrong.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because it's like I feel like I've encountered a good amount of people. I feel very lucky that I met the people I met when I started animation because, like you said, once you find that community where you're like, oh, okay, here's where the good people are.
Exactly.
It's very nice and it makes LA really fun.
Yes.
But then I've obviously met and talked to other people where they've met other people even in animation where it's a bit fake or they are more what is it when you are only looking up,
climbing the ladder.
Yeah, so they're always their only interactions with people in animation were people who just wanted to climb the ladder and would be like, oh, if you're not going to help me get up there, then I'm not giving you the time of day, type of thing. And it's just felt really sad to be like, that sucks that was your only experience or, the only people that you're meeting.
Totally. When
there's so much heart and so many nice people that, oh my God.
It's really, he gets fired up over it. Oh my God. This feels like an SNL sketch. just ignore the cat. It's just literally over everything. His paws. Yeah. Record a podcast, you say? I got something for that.
Yeah, he's like, I got things to say.
Oh my God.
He's not really saying it though. He's like,
he's doing it. But I will say though, I've only had a few interactions with people that were more from the live action side of things, and that's definitely a side of that's more like Hollywood. Oh yeah, that's what I think of when I think about just the industry in general, and it is that fakeness. I'm not saying it's all there, but a lot of it's there. Yeah, and I think you get a little bit of that sometimes in animation, but I think because we are just I don't know, I don't feel like we take ourselves that seriously, maybe, is how it is. And, I don't want to just keep, saying the same 5 words over and over again, but, it really does feel like we're all a bunch of, fun-loving dorks. Yeah. And I feel, for the most part, you don't kind of get that same ickiness that comes with the rest of the industry of just people, only trying to, be friends with you as a work strategy, or as a way to kind of move up the ladder, and I think that's there. I've heard of it. I've seen it every once in a while, but I feel like there's not as much of that in animation as there is in other sides of entertainment. Definitely. Yeah. Oh wow, so interesting. So interesting. I was trying to think of a joke and I couldn't think of it on the spot, so interesting it shall be. I can elaborate even more and just get you to that joke. Yeah, just keep stalling until I get there. So let me tell you more about how it's so special and wonderful. And then I still get to interesting. Yes, quite. Well, I'm glad to hear that the animation community helps you thrive, but in what ways has it made you tired? Oh my God. Let's get into it. Oh, how has animation made me tired? Whew, so many ways. As much as I love this industry, love the people I get to work with, love the projects I get to work on, and just that challenge, I have worked at a few studios, and both union and non-union, and it's just I think it's really the scheduling. I think it's just trying to squeeze more out of us in less time. Yeah. And just seeing the schedules kind of getting more and more unrealistic. Mm-hmm. And then oh my goodness, what else was there? I was going on to something. Can I get back to what I was thinking of? I think it's a big part of it is when you've worked on shows that have people who have experience in animation versus shows with people that are new to animation. You really see the difference.
Yeah.
And you see it in that schedule where it's when someone actually understands how to tame the beast that is animation, there is oftentimes a more responsible schedule. But then when it's like a lot of people from TV animation, I'm not from not TV animation, but just from like live action. I'm not saying all, but a lot of them. I think there is a magic to thinking, what, we get to make everything. Thank goodness that's so much easier than live action. And then there is a thought like, well, we can just fix it later, or we can just do this later, and like or you know, how long will it really take just to kind of like whip something up like this, like create the backgrounds, create the like characters, or like a lot of times it's that live action setup of like not locking the scripts at a certain time and going back and changing them, and then that goofs up the whole schedule, and then guess who has to fix that later? Like, not the person who created that problem, I'll tell you that. Like, I mean, it's just like, I think it's also just being in design, on the design end of things. Like, we are so much later in the process that I've been on shows where it's like, cool, we are so ahead of schedule, and then like then just the next second, oh god, we're 2 weeks behind, oh no, how did this happen? And it's like, I think it's that insanity that I get a little tired of, just like people not understanding just what it takes to really make a show, and to really like do it kind of responsibly, so that people don't feel pressured to have to work so much overtime, or like work on the weekends and work 10 or 12-hour days just to kind of get it done. And it's tough. I think now at this point, like if I've like worked on a show where like I really like the producers, or I really like the schedule, I'm just like, I want to hold you close to me, let's work again, because you understand how this all works, how to keep it balanced. And I just like hope that, you know, as we more and more have more people from live action working animation, like I don't want to discourage anybody. I think we can do so much more with this medium, and like especially adult animation, like we can have so much fun with that. I just think it's good to have somebody involved who knows like how to assemble a crew and a schedule that's gonna really like make it all come together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
especially putting the artists first, and maybe not first, but definitely having the best in mind for the artists is so important for like I was gonna say momentum, but I feel like morale for the crew.
Totally.
Yeah
because I mean, the thing I love so much about animation is that it is a team effort. I love collaborating with people, I love working with people, and I think you got to keep that in mind when you're making a show. Yeah. And that, like, you just brought up morale, and it just unlocked something in my head about, like, how important that is. Especially because, like, you know, animation requires a lot of work because we have to make everything. Yeah. And, you know, it can be very expensive because of that. And so I think it's like there are ways to make this work. I think I don't know what the solution is besides I just want to blame everything on capitalism that goes wrong. But I think it's like pay attention and really like respect those who kind of like understand the process with it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely is greed. Yeah. Which I think a lot of people tie in with capitalism, but it under the surface of capitalism, like in any kind of social structure, it's just greed. Yeah. So that's what's happening there.
Capitalism is very tiring. Greed is very tiring.
Yeah. Obviously not for the people who are greedy, but for everybody else, the consequences of greed are just so it's a ripple effect that just affects everybody, and especially if you're a greedy person that's like from the top, like
it's been interesting too, like having had the opportunity to kind of grow up around it, like, I mean, my sister and I were like got to visit my mom at work at like Disney TV animation in the 90s, and like seeing even just how much that's changed over the years in terms of like what now, like I was a little kid, I didn't know what the scheduling was like, I didn't know what like the whole work environment was per se, but just even seeing because like again, you brought up morale, I think about like how there are less there's less incentives of just celebrating what you're working on with the crew.
Yeah.
And I remember like my mom, like she would definitely take advantage of a lot of like the events that Disney would allow a lot of their employees to be a part of, and that would be like sneak previews of movies. Like we got to see like I think like a sneak preview sort of little mini premiere party of Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh wow.
And like we were like it was TV animation, like they didn't work on that, but it's under the Disney banner, and we had an option to do that. They used to have Disney employee nights at Disneyland, where like it would be one night where like they would basically like kind of kick everyone out of the park, kind of like what they do for like at Universal Studios for the Halloween Horror Night, and then it would just be Disney employees at Disneyland.
Wow.
And like, you know, I don't think food was free or anything. Maybe it was discounted, but basically it was like, yeah, I mean, everyone like didn't have, it was just like on us, like this is Disneyland night. Then they would also have like a Disney family picnic at Calamigos Ranch in oh my god, it's kind of by Malibu. And they would just like rent out this space, and there would be like, you know, like a big Ferris wheel. There'd be like I don't know, there'd be like karaoke and ponies and things like that. It was really fun. And they don't have that anymore for Disney employees now. And like for the Disney employee night, like you just get coupons to go to Disneyland next time you go. And I mean, I will say, like, if you work at Disney long enough, you do also get something called like a silver pass, which is like a annual pass to Disneyland.
Yeah.
So like, oh boo-hoo, you know, they still have access to it in that way. But like little things like that, like having a holiday party, which because of just the past few years with COVID, with all the mergers that have happened, there have been fewer holiday parties. And I mean, I don't mean to, it sounds like a very champagne problem. I recognize in the grand scheme of things, it's like, you know, who needs a party? But like, it really does boost morale. Like just kind of a glimmer of like showing, hey, you worked hard. Let's at least give you the facade that like we care.
Yeah.
You know, that matters. It really does matter. And when you start pulling away at that, and in addition to how there's fewer work now, and just like, you know, schedules are getting shorter, it's just, it's not a good look. It's not a good sign of like things to come, because you know, you want to feel at least that like you're kind of part of something.
Yeah.
And so taking that away kind of takes away that feeling more and more.
Yeah, and then you wonder why like people aren't putting in as, or I mean, you know, it's not a good incentive to be like, we're going to give you all these perks so that you'll put more time in. But if people aren't excited about your product or what they're doing, then how is that even going to come across to the consumer?
Yeah.
You know, or the audience? And it's like, I've said this in an episode before, but when you just think of Lion King, that was just something that they got to go crazy on and just have so much fun with. And look at the outcome. It's become such a classic movie, and they made so much money off of merch, and like,
oh, totally.
Now there's a musical and all this stuff. Because people resonated with that fun that happened, that magic that happened there to make that story. And even if it was like based off of like another, I think it was based off of something else. Anyway.
I think it's based off of Hamlet.
Yeah, I think there was like...
Oh, you mean it was like based off of a similar kind of movie?
Animated movie,
oh, I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I think. But, you know, ultimately, they still made it their own. And it's... Yeah, and then they just saw that, and you can even say that with Barbie too. Barbie, for a recent example, Barbie feels like it was such a fun movie. You can tell, and it made so much money. And then what was the essentially what was Mattel's like lesson from that? Oh, we can now make more. We can make more toy movies.
Exactly.
Instead of like, oh, this was a very fun, unique environment.
Yep.
How can you, what is
Female
it?
driven.
Yeah. But how can you nurture that in other directors to get kind of like the same, But no, it's very greed driven.
It's the IP that was the reason for that success.
IP only.
IP and IP alone.
Yeah.
That just sounds silly when you say it like that. Yeah, no, it's sort of like, wow, you really didn't get the point as to why we all enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And it's just very like, you're only focused on yeah, okay, we're all working for these big studios. Obviously, we're contributing to the money machine, and we're here to help make a product. But it doesn't have to be soulless, though, I guess, Like, it doesn't mean that we can't, like, sneak in some fun art in the process.
Yeah.
Or, like, yeah, just, because I think about, like, yeah, what made Barbie was so fun and special was, like, the humor, the love of film, and just, like, the combination of just, yes, of course, obviously, like, focusing on the feminist message in it, but I think it's just that perspective on Barbie of just, like, what can we use this as a vehicle to say something else?
Yeah.
And that's the interesting part. And, like, I mean, it obviously, because, I mean, just, yeah, like, especially with something like Barbie, like, that was, like, such a heavy topic in a way to take on because of the history of Barbie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, make something interesting with it. Not like, cool, we're going to do this for Hot Wheels as well.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like, yes, there could be a different way to bring Barbie into the world, but realistically, how else would Barbie have reacted? Especially when Barbie was made to be like, it may have started off just being like, oh, this was just a doll to sell to little girls of this like sexy teen. Even though that even at that time was like a forward thing. What? A sexy woman who didn't need a man and was wearing pants, and like the fact that
is it like a little baby doll?
Yeah. So of course her coming into today's age, if she was stuck in that bubble of being a toy, like getting a conscience and just being like, oh, this is the real world, when I just thought that we can do anything. Like, I thought it was very smartly done. And even if people were, hoping that it wasn't gonna have a political message, I just don't feel like there was a way that you could skip over that. Yeah. Without it feeling like, then it would feel more like, okay, they're trying to sell you something.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, it made me think of how they kind of pulled that off with the Lego movie too, where it was like that, because there were other toy movies like Battleship with Rihanna.
Oh, I never saw it.
Neither have I.
Maybe it's time that we do.
Yeah, like there were other movies where I think they were like trying to do it, and there was like, I don't, and like that humor, that silliness, that way of like, I mean, in that movie it was just a sense of play. Yeah. Whereas like I liked how they handled it with Barbie.
Yeah, definitely. You could just see the love of, I think that was also amazing, is not only were they able to put a message in, but you can just see the love of film in that.
I just found out that like, because I knew that like a lot of that movie was an ode to like older MGM movies, like Singing in the Rain and An American in Paris. And then like other French movies that I'm not going to even try to pronounce the names of. But I just learned recently, like, so they like made the sets. I knew that. And a lot of like the effects were very practical. But then they also did like a certain treatment to like all the scenes in Barbie Land that were meant to look like old Technicolor. And that's why, like, the lighting and the colors look so differently when you're in Barbie Land versus when you're in the real world, where then, like, oof, like, it suddenly doesn't have the brightness. It has more of, like, it's, like, darker, more natural tones.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I also saw this little snippet saying that in Barbie Land, because, like, natural light would be too harsh on the Barbies, so they made sure that they were only backlit in Barbie World, and so that no natural light was really hitting their face, to give that appearance of, like, oh, they're so perfect.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It's all very, like, complimentary lighting.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Oh my gosh, we went on a whole...
Yeah, we did.
We went there. Okay.
It's the power of Barbie.
I know the power of Barbie and pink and beauty, and inclusiveness.
Exactly.
And being able to do anything you put your mind to. Well, we are very, I think part of it too was Arthur.
Yeah.
Who finally calmed down. Oh my gosh, he's sleeping right now.
He's a little snug bug right now.
He got his zoomies out. He's like, I've done entertaining.
My work is done.
Real fast, what interests do you have outside of animation that you enjoy?
Are we talking professionally or not professionally?
Not professionally.
Like,
what helps you get out of just being like, oh, animation all day, like, work?
Work. How do I get out of this work? A few things actually. So I'm sure you notice, I mean, it's funny. I don't even, like, more and more as I, like, do, since I do art for a living, sometimes it's hard to make that time to draw in my spare time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I, like, need a break from that. And so I don't often, like, draw in my spare time. So one of the ways I was still kind of being creative, but not in necessarily that direction, was, like, I love playing with makeup. A lot of that, like, over the pandemic too, that was definitely, like, a hobby that I invested more time in, where, like, I'm like, ooh, like, looking at YouTube tutorials, or looking at, like, gathering, like, Pinterest images, and even, like, saving posts from, like, beauty influencers of, like, and drag queens, of course, of, like, how to, like, different ways to play in that sense. And I have definitely gotten more interested in that. Like, I wear fake eyelashes a lot more than I used to. And that's one way I kind of do creative things outside of animation focus work. I also I love, like, crafts. Like, I've been getting back into crocheting. Ooh. Which is something I'm, like, on and off again for years, because, like, it's same thing with knitting, because, like, it can be rough on them wrists after a while. And there was, like, a time where I was, like, knitting, doing a lot of digital art in my spare time, and riding my bike a bunch, and my wrists were I was, like, constantly doing exercises. Like, I was paranoid I was gonna get carpal tunnel. So far I have not gotten carpal tunnel, which is a miracle unto itself.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have dodged a bullet, and keep doing those wrist exercises, because yeah, carpal tunnel is not fun.
No.
Neither is tendonitis.
No. Yeah.
Like, I experience them both, which is also why I'm trying to strengthen my yoga game. So I don't have to...
Dude, yeah. That downward facing dog, and probably crow as well, is really good for your wrists.
Which is... okay, so I finally learned how to properly place my hands.
For a downward facing dog, or just in general?
Just in general, for any inversions where you're, like, having to do your hands. Because, I mean, yeah, for, like, a while when I first start, my wrist will always hurt. But then, then you're like strengthening and then you're like, okay, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
But then I found out it's because I still have been doing it wrong and you're still probably like injuring yourself.
Yeah. No, I get paranoid with that when because I've had bouts of getting really into yoga, and I would get paranoid about just like, there's so much on the hand. And then like, I need these. These are my money makers.
Yeah,
I can't hurt them.
My babies.
What is it? My mitts. Yeah, it can be rough with that. So yeah, like all that kind of stuff, like crocheting, knitting, and embroidering. I get into it for a moment of time, and then I have to take a break because it is so like hard on your hands.
Yeah.
But it also is so nice too to just do something that doesn't require a screen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of like my video game. Like when I get into it, I was like, this is all I'm doing. I just want to make, and I have like, I have like bins of old yarn from like the last time I got into textiles that I need to like pull out, because now I'm like making the little, it's been around for like 10 or 15 years and I can't say it. What's the amigurumi? I think. Did I say it right?
Oh, I don't know.
But they're like the little crocheted creatures.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those.
I've had like a little kit of making them as like little cactus.
Oh my gosh.
For years, and then like it took just being unemployed. I'm like, I'm doing it now.
Yes.
And I've made like 2 of them so far.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like a fun way to kind of just figure out a puzzle, because you got to like count a bunch.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with art, us in the animation field, that's such a big thing for us. I think that's why a lot of us are into video games and crafts, because they are puzzles that just help your mind kind of like not get bored, I guess. Or
like I kind of just want to get into the stuff that I was really into in college again. And part of that, like one part was textiles. I took a textiles class in college. I loved it. That's how I learned how to crochet.
Oh, wow.
We did embroidery, like scarf dyeing.
Ooh.
And screen printing. Mm-hmm. And then we did like basket weaving as well. And that was like one of my favorite classes. The other one was printmaking. I freaking loved printmaking, and that's something I would love to get back into at some point, because I think you can take like classes nearby. We have friends that have taken them.
Yeah.
I think Reem, who's been on the podcast.
I was gonna say, you should talk to Reem about that.
I know. It's Reem. I know a couple other animation artists that have like gotten into them, like risograph printing.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I've only done like the lino cut ones, which so satisfying, where you're just like carving into like a linoleum square. And then there's like etching, not as satisfying. At least the way I did it, we did it on like a plexiglass square.
Yeah.
Oof, like witch's claws on a chalkboard. It was
I do
rough.
not like that.
That one was rough. But like what is it? Like like the risograph printing would be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Mm-hmm. In the vein of funsies, is there a random animal fact you can tell me?
Okay, so I thought about this. Mm-hmm. And I already have random animal facts that just live in my head.
Yes. Because
of taking animal husbandry classes. And I know. Let me try and say it again. Animal husbandry, which is such a weird term for basically like animal facts. Like it's like, do you want to learn about the biology of animals? Y'all are here at this weird like zoo magnet, might as well. But only like a few facts from that like really like persevered in my head. And like so I have a few animal facts for you because I looked into more.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go.
So of the ones that have survived in my head from high school, it was I know that there's a difference between African elephants and Asian elephants. Mm-hmm. African elephants are generally much larger, and they're like both in terms of height and I think just kind of size, and their ears are sort of like in a bit of like an Africa continent size, like kind of in that V. And Asian elephants, I don't know. I mean, this is really just the difference of like the climates, where they are generally shorter, a little smaller. They have a more rounded back. Their ears are a little smaller, and then they kind of have like a double bump head.
Wait, I thought African elephants had the double bump head.
No, they kind of have like the more like one bump head.
Oh.
Yeah, I think so. From what I remembered. I like, but then I thought, that's not that interesting and fun, and I looked up more animal facts. Well, another one that like lives in my head is just like, I think hummingbirds can be very like territorial and aggressive, and they're like so athletic and muscular that I just think of hummingbirds as just sort of like these aggro bros.
Oh my
like they're like so
gosh.
majestic and gorgeous, but then I just think of them just like bro. Like, get it, I need this nectar, you need to get away. But then I looked up one other random animal fact where basically so the chemical compound that is used to make fake banana flavoring, like for candies and whatnot, is a similar chemical compound to the sort of like pheromone that bees give out when they're like in defense mode, like when they're really angry.
What?
And so I guess the takeaway from that is if you have, I don't know, you got like a bunch of like runts, like bananas or a bunch of fake banana stuff, maybe don't go near bees because they might be like a little defensive towards you.
Oh shit.
And when I looked this up, I think I found it on Reddit, and like I saw like a beekeeper responded to this like, that's what that smell is. I work with bees, and like they give out that smell, and like, yeah, whenever they're in a bad mood, that smell comes out. And so
That's crazy.
verified by a random Reddit beekeeper.
Verified.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I want to go back to the elephants real fast. Did you know about the people think that the Cyclops came about because they saw an elephant skull, and where the nose is looked like a huge eye?
Oh, I love that. Oh, I do love that. Another thing, like, elephants are so interesting because they're kind of almost like, they're very smart, and like they are known to like kind of have like a sort of funeral if like one of the members of the tribe dies. But on a more positive note, like there was a show, oh my god, I think it was Bill Nye when he had like a show on Netflix, a more recent one, and they brought on like a magician, and he was like, he was trying to do like magic for animals to see how they responded. Mm-hmm. And one of them, the tricks for the elephant was like he had like an empty dish, and then like, and he was in front of like 2 or 3 elephants at a zoo, and then he like put the lid on it and then opened it up, and it was all this fresh produce, and the elephants were kind of like, whoa, like kind of backing up, and then like were like kind of hitting on the floor as if they were like like
oh
clapping.
My gosh,
that like lives in my head. I'm like, oh, the elephants get it. They're so cool.
I love elephants.
Me too. Oh, I got to ride an elephant one time too.
What?
It was another Disney event. I think it was for like one of the it was like the Return of Jafar straight to video thing. They randomly had one. I was like a little kid, so I don't know how it feels as an adult. It is the weirdest experience though. You constantly feel like you're about to like fall off this animal.
Holy crap.
It's a weird trippy thing.
Is it like, were you on its back, or were you in one of those like, I know that there are, what is it? Kind of like a dock that they put on top of them?
Yes. No, I think it was just it was kind of like riding a horse. They just kind of put a harness on there, and then you're like, here you go, kid.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like one of those experiences you don't forget. It's like,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
That was weird.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. As we talk about our love of them, did I tell you I rode one?
Yeah. As a little child.
As a little child. Those were the young days.
It's probably better for its back too, to have like a little child.
Probably.
But did they put anyone else on there with you?
I don't remember.
Oh
I think it was just me, and then they're like kind of having somebody nearby as like a spotter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was in elementary school. I don't. That's all
90s.
I remember. Yeah.
The 90s.
The 90s. What a blur.
Well, as part of the show, I'd like to pull out a tarot card because who knows? Maybe you need to hear it today.
Always down.
Always. And I'm using my very frequent Aquarian deck. It's just become the default deck. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to keep shuffling, and you just tell me when to stop.
Stop.
And let's see what card. 4 of Swords.
Yep.
What
an image.
What an image. Are you doing too much? Are you running around?
Perhaps.
I literally got this card one time when I was going out every single fucking day, and then this card came out, and I just slowly put it back into the deck and kept going on with my life, and then I got exhaustion. Like, I got what is it? It's like exhaustion sickness. I just, like, my body fell apart, and I had to, like, lay down for a day or two.
Oh my God. So, like, you just kind of overexerted yourself?
Yeah.
Like you were like a little Judy Garland pushed too hard by the system.
But not with any drugs.
Yeah. She had a lot of uppers for Judy. Yeah, no, I definitely, that's funny. The way you described that, it sounded like just really hitting a wall. When you're just kind of like going, and then you're just like, oh no, I need to leave. I need to go lie down. This is too much. It snuck up on me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It's like, probably I am doing 2 more things after talking with you today. It's hard to say though, because like, so I am like sort of on a hiatus at the moment, and it feels like you do need to like take up every little nook and cranny of your time to like stay active, stay practicing, stay on top of like what work is out there, and like making yourself hireable. So it's hard. It feels guilty to like, it feels wrong to like take a time off for yourself, or like maybe just sit back and watch a movie or something. Or it's always like hard to kind of justify that, because it feels like, okay, well, I need to use every like moment of my day to finding work, and if I'm not doing that, I'm failing.
Yeah.
But that's also like, it's taken me a long time to kind of find the balance in that it's also like no good if you are running yourself ragged. Yeah, because then your body's gonna force you to take a rest at some point. Oh girl. I don't know about you. It's been such a fun experience of the last like 4 years, realizing it's been 4 years since the pandemic started. Mm-hmm. And like, I've had to like not only like relearn how to be social, but also like readjust to what kind of a social person I am now. Yeah. Because it's like, it's a fun adjustment of thinking, cool, when it opens up, I'm out there, baby. I'm out there. I'm seeing people. I'm hanging out. I'm just like how it was in 2019. And then your body's like, hey, no, we're not doing that anymore. Yeah. You need to go take a nap now. And they're like, nobody, I can do it. Nap, or you'll see it. And like, I had a moment this past weekend, actually. Like, I had family in town, and I was like entertaining, and then I went to like a friend's birthday party almost immediately afterwards. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I can keep going. And it just sneaks up, because you think, oh, I can keep up that schedule. And then you realize, oh, I gotta leave, but I gotta leave gracefully. And but I also kind of want to disappear. This is a lot. Like, you're just suddenly overwhelmed by all of the amount of social activity. And I mean, I get I like to consider myself a pretty extroverted person, but I've noticed like I'm a little bit more indoor kid than I used to be, where I do get charged up from being around people, but I also like need that little like hermit time of just kind of just recharging at home.
Yeah.
And I can be like this knight right here who's just so exhausted that he had to take a nap in all of his armor. And he needed three swords to nail him down.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
To be like, don't you dare get up.
You're not
gonna
going
face
anywhere.
Consequences if you're going to try and sit up.
You got to protect this last bit of energy that is the fourth sword. I did not know that this was going in a direction of like overexertion and like maybe just pushing your body more than it can give. Because it's just this like knight who's just like lying down. I thought he was dead, honestly. I thought it was like death by 4 swords. So it's kind of nice to know the different meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely more of a like, you might just be pushing yourself too hard and you will need to rest before, or it's just a more of a warning of you need to rest before something else is going to make you rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a heads up.
Yeah. Keep it easy.
Yeah, keep it easy breezy and just relax.
Just, hey, go take a nap.
Hey, just check in and take care of yourself a little bit.
Go get your zoomies out to take a nap.
Yes. So listeners, if you've been overexerting yourself, if you have been running around, probably check in and see if you need to take a rest, because like I said, if you don't do it, something is going to force you to take that rest, whether it be sickness or, whatever. So, well, thank you so much, Katie, for being here and talking with me. Is there anything you want to promote about yourself? Is there somewhere you want people to find you? Like, or do you not want to be exposed at all?
Yes, leave me alone. I gotta go take a nap. No, thank you so much, Sam. This was great. You can find me on my Instagram at Presco. Presco_kid. It made more sense when I lived in San Francisco. I'm not changing it. Yeah, you can find me there. I post a lot of doodles and paintings, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and Katie is available for work. So if you're somebody from the industry who is looking for an amazing background artist or a background supervisor, just know that Katie is available. So get her, hire her up before she gets snatched by someone else. Sadly, we are at the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy this podcast, please follow or subscribe. You can also follow Tired and Thriving on Instagram at Tired and Thriving, all one word. There you can reach out, give feedback, or maybe let me know how you've been uniquely thriving. You can also reach out through email at tiredandthriving@gmail.com. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a thriving week. See you next time.
Woo!
Wow.